Thank you, Linda. Come on down.
Morning, everybody. I appreciate you coming today for a talk that I hope you'll find very useful. I want you to kind of have some take-home tips that you can use and maybe share with your family or your friends, some good practical tips to help you with weight loss. So we're going to kind of keep it informal, try to make it interesting, and I'm probably not going to talk about everything exactly on the slides, but that's why I made the handouts, because I do think the information is helpful for you, and you can take that home and read it. I don't think I'm going to need my paper. I did want to ask a couple questions before we start and kind of test our knowledge, what you know about weight loss. So what do you think is the best way to lose weight? I have 4 answers. Exercise, starve yourself, strict diet, or a combination of healthy eating and exercise. Pretty easy, right? Okay. Okay, how about this one? To lose weight, I can divide exercise up into smaller increments throughout the day. Is that true or false? True. That's true. Used to be they said we have to do it all at once to get our metabolism going enough, and it didn't count, but luckily now we can do smaller amounts and it helps. All right, the last one is the way I think about myself can affect my ability to lose weight. That's true or false? Mm-hmm. True. Okay, you guys are smart. You know it already. You're just going to build on that, right? Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like you to think of weight loss as a journey. If you think of it as a diet, we think we're going to start it and then stop it. And what happens when we stop it? We gain our weight back, and what else do we gain? Back to the old ways, usually gain a couple extra pounds along with that, which we don't want. So if you think of this as a process, a journey, you know, it's not something I have to start and stop. I'm going to do it every day. A little bit easier. I read an article, bless you, that gave a really good example of trying to make this make sense. Think about if you're going on a trip. You're driving cross country, maybe from Pennsylvania to Nevada. You'd have to do a lot of things to get ready for your trip, right? A lot of mental preparation, gearing up for that big trip. But then when your trip is over, the trip's done. You don't have to think about it anymore. That's kind of what we do when we diet. We do all this work for this diet. We gear up. We usually do it well. We usually lose weight. But then when we're done, we stop thinking about it. And then we can fall back in our old habits, and then weight comes back on. So think about this trip differently. Think about if you'd have to do this trip over and over again over the next 30 years, you would prepare differently, right? Than just one trip that you're going to do once. Okay, and that's how I want you to think about being healthy, losing weight, and keeping it off. Okay? If we think of diets that we start and stop, they're not going to work very well. But if you think of losing weight as something we're going to do long term, it helps. Okay. Now this can be overwhelming because you think, oh my gosh, I have to eat so well and exercise and do everything right every day. I can't do that. That's hard. But think of it one day at a time, not as forever. If we take things one day at a time, it's a little easier. That's kind of what I like with the little saying there, one day at a time. So I'm going to give you some tips to help you do this one day at a time and to make it 3 important points I'm going to talk about first. The old saying is true. Calories in versus calories out. There's just no way around it. Harvard did a lot of studies recently, and what they showed is it really doesn't matter what type of diet you follow. You know, some people do the Mediterranean, some people do low carb, low fat, high protein, but they tested most of these diets and people were able to lose weight on all of them. So it wasn't really what they were doing that was successful, it was that they were taking in less calories. Now we did find, you remember years ago when the big craze was low fat, everything low fat. Well, we found that was probably not a very good diet because a lot of people ate a lot of carbs, very little fat, and we gained more weight. So that's probably the least successful. If you're going to try a diet, don't just do low fat. But maybe, more protein and more balance would be a better choice. But we still have to take in less calories than we expend to lose weight. Common sense, we pretty much know that. But how can you know if you're doing that right? A lot of books talk about people who've lost weight long term and are successful. There's some basic keys that are really classic to that. They've done studies for people 10, 20 years of losing weight and keeping it off. One of them is weighing yourself every day, or at least once a week. That way you can see if a little bit of weight's sneaking up on you, I got to cut back, I got to be more careful. So being aware of your weight. Other thing is journaling. When we have to write it down, even if it's for ourselves, we're less likely to eat that food that we want to eat. We're less likely to snack on things like that. So keeping a food journal helps. It doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. Let's say you feel your weight sneaking up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take a week and journal what I eat. I'm going to look at it and see where I'm struggling, and this will kind of help me figure out how I need to cut back. And they have a lot of really nice applications on your phone that you can use. MyFitnessPal is a great one. MyFitnessPal. It tracks exercise. It'll track diets. It can track how much fluid you're taking in. Another one called Lose It. It's very helpful as well. There's lots of them out there. They're free, most of them. So if you like something convenient like your phone to track food, you can do that. If you're old-fashioned, you just want to write it in a notebook, there's nothing wrong with that either. But again, it's going to show us where we're getting extra calories, when we're eating, when we're snacking, and where we need to make changes. We can't improve if we don't know where we're going wrong. All right, the second point. First point was calories in, calories out. Second point is controlling portion sizes. Over the years, we're eating larger and larger portions. Restaurants are giving us bigger and bigger meals. So it'd be nice if we could get them all to get on the same playing field with us. Reduce your portion sizes, maybe lower prices a little bit, and the whole nation wouldn't be as heavy. A lot of people don't like to waste food, so they get big portions. They feel they have to eat it. So that's part of the reason we're getting heavier, but we're also eating bigger portions. We're using bigger plates. We're snacking more. Food is so prominent everywhere that we're always thinking about it. I had a patient tell me from another country that it's very hard in this country not eat because everywhere she goes, there's a 7-Eleven, there's a pizza shop. Always these bombardments of food to remind us we should be eating. And in her country, they didn't have that. So it was easier for her to follow a diet and keep her weight off. So I don't think any of that's going to change here. We're just going to have to be strong about that and resist. So again, we have to control our portions and reduce our portion sizes. So I brought a plate to kind of give you an idea. We should be eating foods on an appetizer plate. So it's really the inside circle of this plate. It's smaller. We don't need a big plate. We have plenty to eat from this space that's on here. Okay? And one of the resources, if you'd like more information, is choosemyplate.gov. They have a lot of good basic information, but they're trying to say, choose your plate about this size. And how do we balance our plate? Well, we want about 1/4 of our plate to be protein, 1/2 of our plate to be vegetables and fruit, 1/4 to be starch or grains or carbohydrate, and then some dairy mixed in there. Talk a little bit more specifically about those portions in our plate, how we can eat to make you get full. So for example, appetizer plate, start out with your salad first. Then eat your meat, then eat your vegetables. So by the time you get to the carbs, we're going to be pretty full. We're not going to overdo it with our carbs. Most of the time, if we're gaining weight, we're eating too many carbs. majority of the time. It's something we love. It makes us feel good, produces serotonin, which gives us a good feeling. So we're always going to go for those carbs, whether it's bread or salty snacks or sweets. So if we can control that, that will help with our weight. We don't want to not have any carbs. They're good for us. We need them for energy, but we don't want to overdo it. When it comes to lunch and dinner, you want your meat portion to be about 3 ounces. We're going to talk a little bit more about portion sizes, but that's basically the size of a deck of cards. If it's a piece of fish, you can have about the size of a checkbook, so it's a little bit bigger and longer. But we don't need those huge portions of meat to get enough nutrition and be full. We want to eat slowly and chew well. If we take our time and eat slowly, then it gives our body to give us that signal, which is about 20 minutes into our eating, to tell us we're full. I've done it myself. If you eat fast, you don't get the full signal, and you can eat a lot of food. For example, you're sitting there watching TV, and maybe instead of just taking 6 crackers out of the bag, you bring the cracker package with you. It's really easy to eat a lot of them, even maybe the whole row of crackers, and not even realize it. Especially if you're watching TV, you're not being mindful of your eating. So it helps to portion things out, put the rest of it away. You're less likely to go back and get more. You want to feel that full signal so that we can stop. These are just some examples of some portion sizes, and like I said, we have that in your handout for you. For snacks, our portion sizes should be small. For men, they get to have a little bit more than women because their metabolism is different. So these examples of snacks I'm showing you, the guys can kind of double that. But you want your snack to have protein and carb. Protein keeps us full. It slows the digestion down. So you don't want to just have pretzels for a snack. Have a piece of cheese with it or a handful of nuts. That snack will last longer until your next meal. So here's some examples of snacks. Half an English muffin with peanut butter, a piece of cheese and some fruit, some Greek yogurt with fresh berries, hard-boiled egg and grapes. Any of the nut butters are very healthy with crackers or baked chips, those kind of things. Hummus, very healthy. They have a lot of varieties of that, so if you like that, that's good too. Again, I'm balancing it with the carb and the protein. A couple more snacks there for you. And the third point is all foods can fit. You don't want to label foods bad or good. There are some foods that are not as healthy for us as others, but if we eat them in moderation and don't do it all the time, they can work in our diet. So yes, most of the time we want to eat healthy, but it doesn't mean we can't have some wings once in a while or a piece of dessert. But if you're doing that every week or every day, you're probably going to gain weight. So we're going to talk about some foods and nutrients to eat more of so that we can have a healthy eating pattern and stay within those calories so that we're not gaining weight. Probably not anything new to anybody. We're told to eat more and more fruits and vegetables. The more colorful they are, the healthier they are. Fiber, they have antioxidants, vitamins and minerals. And preferably, if we can have them fresh, is number 1. Frozen would be next, and then canned would be third. So kind of do it that way, that will help. We want to consume at least half of our grains as whole grains. Whole grains would be 100% whole wheat, 100% whole grain. Refined grains, we want to cut back on those. White bread, white flour, white rice. It doesn't have as much vitamins and minerals or fiber, and those are all really important to us. Increase our intake of low-fat dairy products like yogurts and low-fat milk, low-fat cheeses. Very healthy for us. And then fortified soy beverages are also healthy if you like those. We want to vary our protein intake. More and more studies are trying to encourage people to eat more vegetarian. If that's not for you, that's okay, but then eat the meats that you like that are lean and healthy. That could be seafood, chicken, turkey, fish. Eat less beef and pork, and replace some of the beef and pork with more seafood. Salmon, your fatty fishes are very healthy. They have good fatty acids that are really good for the body. They fight inflammation. You want to use more healthy fats. Olive oil is very healthy. Use canola oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, all good healthy fats. Mediterraneans eat a pretty high-fat diet, but it's very healthy fat. So they're not gaining weight from it, and they're having a lot of fruits and vegetables and not as much meats, and they're doing healthier meats. So we can kind of mimic that diet if that sounds good to you. You want to find foods that provide more vitamins, calcium, fiber, potassium, and that's pretty much the foods I've just been talking about. Your vegetables, your fruits, your 100% whole grains, your low-fat dairy, healthy meats. Before I talk about eating out, we got any questions about foods that we eat or choices? Right. Yes. The healthiest nuts, they say, are the almonds, the walnuts, but you can include all nuts. Maybe you don't like some of those nuts, but you do like peanuts. They're still a good source of fiber and vitamins. And again, with nuts, there's a lot of calories, so we've got to have a small handful. We eat half the char, we've kind of defeated the healthy benefit of the nuts. Recommendations that are out are preferably to eat the fruit, not drink the juice. If you are going to have juice, maybe just 4 ounces a day. It is high in natural sugar from the fruit, and we get a benefit from the fiber of the whole fruit, so we process it better. We're getting more out of the whole fruit than just the juice. Questions? But eating out would be important to talk about because most of us enjoy it, and there's no reason you can't eat out, but we want to eat healthy, and we want to watch what we're eating. So, first thing you want to look out for is liquid calories. Okay? Coffee in itself is not high calorie, but if you're putting creamers in it, sugar, it's going to have a lot of calories. Sodas, we all know, has a lot of calories. That sugar is not good for us. And alcohol has a lot of calories. So again, moderation. That's all right. Everything in moderation. If you like creamer in your coffee, do the low sugar, the low fat creamer, or the fat-free half and half. Sodas, better to do the diet soda. I'm not a fan of lots of diet soda, but it does help if you like soda because it's not as high calorie as regular soda. But I would like to see people drinking more water, maybe flavored water, a little healthier. You want to look at the menu before you go out to eat. And I noticed in the back they have a little kiosk with restaurants, and you can click on them and look at what they have and get nutrition information. But even just looking at the menu before you go so you know what you're going to get. Okay, I'm going to order this baked fish and the salad and vegetables, so when you get to the restaurant, you're less tempted to order maybe something that's not as healthy. Kind of have an idea of where you're going and what you're going to get. Don't skip meals when you're going out to eat because then you're going to overeat at the restaurant and take in too many calories. Also, it can help to drink a full glass of water before you go out to eat, or once you get to the restaurant, it'll partially fill you up and you won't eat as much. Don't be afraid to ask for special requests. Ask how the food's prepared. Unfortunately, a lot of times to make it taste good, they do things like put butter on our steak before they serve it to us. It helps it to hold better when they cook it, and it gives it a lot of flavor, but it gives us a lot of calories. So you can say, don't put butter on my steak, and grill it. Don't grill it in any oil or fats. Everybody knows to ask for dressings and sauces on the side. You can ask for a double serving of vegetables instead of maybe potato. Maybe you go to Olive Garden and you love their breadsticks. So you're going to have breadsticks, but then you're not going to have more carb in your dinner. So you could have a breadstick, but then with your meal, get your meat and a double vegetable, and you have a little bit of more balance. You can split a meal with someone. Again, most meals we get out are 2 or 3 portions, so you can split with someone. You can have the server box half of it up before they even bring it out to you, so then that temptation is not there to eat the whole thing. Order a healthy appetizer, a light soup as your meal, or a side salad. If they don't have the reduced fat dressings, then take your fork and dip into it instead of just dumping it all over it. You'll eat less of it. Again, eating slowly so we know we get full. We get that full signal and we don't overeat. You can share a dessert with someone. You can skip dessert. Most restaurants have fresh berries or fruit that they can put a little whipped topping on. That could be your dessert. That would be a better choice. Your fork down between bites slows our eating. So again, we'll get that full signal. Any questions about eating out? Any suggestions or thoughts? Right. It depends on the wine. Some wines are dry, some are sweeter, so it can vary anywhere from 100 up to more than 100. It's something definitely that now we have the internet, we can look it up and see. Generally, we say 1 ounce of liquor, like a shot, or a 4-ounce glass of wine. We generally, if it's a dry wine, say about 100 calories. And eating out is very social. A lot of people come to Florida to retire. We're doing a lot of social events where alcohol is involved. So we can get a lot of calories in if you're going out 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe you're not overeating, but you're getting a lot of calories from your alcohol. So maybe, say I'm only going to have a small amount of alcohol and only have that twice a week so that I'm not getting a lot of calories from that. Oh, okay. It also helps to figure out why we're eating, what things cue us to eat so we can change our behavior. Okay. A lot of times we don't even think about this. So what makes us want to eat? Of course, we eat when we're hungry, but we also eat for a lot of other reasons. We're going to talk some about that. But some of the things that make us want to eat, I think holidays, going to a baseball game, there's classic things you would eat there. Sports events, is usually hot dogs, beer, nachos. Watching TV, they're constantly showing commercials to make us want to eat. Holidays, there's always going to be special food around. Going to the movies, soda, popcorn, candy. So you've got to be prepared. You've got to think about these things and have a plan before you do them and think about what's triggering you to eat. So you may be sitting and watching TV in the evening and you're completely full, but that TV is triggering you to want a snack. So if we think about that, that will help us maybe change some of that behavior and not do that snacking. Also, we want to know what our eating cues are, things that lead us to eat. Again, being in the kitchen, watching the TV, those kind of things. They do make us want to eat. If we're not stimulated by those cues, we tend to not eat as much. And a lot of times we eat for emotional reasons. We're angry, we're bored, we're lonely, we're tired. We reward ourselves because we've had a hard day. Not necessarily bad, but we have to plan that in as part of our eating pattern and not just let that go uncontrolled. There's usually a chain of events that leads to eating. Next time you want to eat, think about it. Am I really hungry? Try to wait 10, 15 minutes and see if that urge to eat goes away, and drink a glass of water. A lot of times we're thirsty when we think we're hungry. And if you just wait a little bit, you'll find that you don't really feel like you need to eat. Okay? We really should be eating when we're hungry and not eating for all these other reasons. How do we break that chain of eating when we're not really hungry? Again, keeping a food diary can show you what led you to eat and how to make changes. Some other strategies is do other things that don't involve eating. You know, it could be exercise, meeting a friend, taking a walk, anything like that. Change your routine. Maybe say, I'm only going to eat when I'm at the table. Amazing how much that changes how much we eat. If we only allow ourselves to eat at the table, it's not so much fun to snack anymore, so we eat less. So it really does work. And don't let yourself get too hungry. If we're starving, you know, I can give a personal example. You know, I work off-site right now, but when I used to work here at the hospital, I had a 45-minute drive home. And if I didn't have a snack before I went home, as soon as I walked in the house, I was starving. And anything that was there was free game for me to eat. Chips, candy, whatever is there, you're going to want to eat because you're so hungry. But if you have a snack when you get home, you're not ravished and you're going to be a little more sensible about what you eat. And I kind of mentioned this before. Think of things that don't have anything to do with eating that will kind of help you change some behavior. How to control the munchies. Again, if you say, I'm only going to eat at the table, that helps. Do something else when we're bored. You know, it can be a computer game, it can be talking on the phone, listening to music, whatever it is that you like and enjoy that's not going to be associated with eating. Again, skipping meals, we tend to overeat, whether it's later in the day, in the evening. So really going all day and not eating doesn't help us lose weight. And don't be too strict to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. None of us are perfect. We're all going to have days when we eat cheesecake or something fried or something that we wouldn't normally eat. It's not the end of the world. You know, it's not going to ruin your healthy eating or you're trying to stay within your calorie range. Just get back on track the next day and, you know, don't let yourself keep repeating that every day. And you'll be able to maintain moderate weight and not gain weight. I like this suggestion that I saw, you know, have a jar next to where you used to keep your snacks. And every time you want to snack, put some money in the jar. And then by the end of the week or the end of the month, you have some nice money in there that you can go spend on music or a video or something to reward yourself for not giving into snacking and staying healthier. Switch gears now and talk about exercise. Unfortunately, there's no way to be healthy without exercise. Really good for our body. It helps us with our mobility, our function, our strength. So exercise is really good for health, but it's also very good for maintaining weight loss. It does help us lose weight some, but it's not the end-all, be-all. It's really more beneficial for maintaining weight. How can we sneak in some more exercise into our daily routine? Got some tips that will help. Wearing a pedometer really helps because it shows you how many steps you've taken, and it's encouraging. One day you see 1,000, maybe the next day you see 2,000. It motivates you to want to do more and stay active. So that's an option. Taking the stairs more often, that helps. You wouldn't believe it, but every little increment where you're more active adds up at the end of the week, and it can help you lose weight and keep it off. You know, it can make the difference between, well, I was more active this week, so that day that I ate, you know, a fudgesicle, it didn't make me gain weight because I was more active and I burned that off. So again, every little bit helps. You know, if you physically take the stairs, that burns calories. It's good for our muscles and our bones. Or you can park the car further away and walk, it's good. Even taking that grocery cart back into the store instead of pushing it to the side, it's more exercise for you. So again, that's going to help in the long term. Working, The more we sit, the more unhealthy we are. They say even athletes that, maybe 3 times a week are very extremely active, like runners, if the rest of the week they're very sedentary, they're going to have a higher risk of heart problems, because the more sedentary we are, the more unhealthy we are. So we all need to keep more active. So if you sit a lot at home or at work, get up often. I like the suggestion, every commercial, get up and take a little walk and then sit back down again. The more we stand, we burn more calories. So if you're standing at a desk or a computer, you're going to burn more calories than sitting there. So any of those things that you can increase helps. Pacing while talking on the phone, I don't know, that'd be a little bit hard, but it was one of the suggestions. Walking in the mall when the weather's bad. Luckily, we don't have much bad weather here, but if it's raining, go somewhere else where you can walk. Have a dog, that's a great way to get some exercise, walking with the dog, as long as they're not constantly stopping to smell. And then Dr. Medlen is a doctor who does bariatric surgery, weight loss surgery. He's also a patient himself. He needed to lose weight, so he has good experience personally and with his program. He has a big program, and what he found over the years is kind of interesting. A lot of times we think, oh, we have to exercise 5 days a week for an hour. That's the only way it's going to help. Well, I thought this was pretty neat, because long term he found that most of his patients were able to keep the majority of their weight off if they maintained 100 minutes of exercise a week. That's really only about 35 minutes 3 times a week. That's not too bad. Most of us could do that, and you don't have to do it all at one time. In one day you could have 3 10-minute increments of exercise. So you can spread it out, but it's a pretty reasonable goal, and it's a way that we can keep that weight off. Any questions before I move on to my last 3 points? I haven't looked at any studies on that, but what I believe is they're all good tools to help us be aware of our activity and do more exercise. I don't know if one is better than another. Some of them are just more fancy and slick. So I think any of them is a good tool, because it really does show you, you have no idea how much you're walking. Maybe you're walking way more than you thought. It's going to encourage you. Or maybe you say, oh boy, I really am not walking very much, and it's going to motivate you to do more. So I think you can't go wrong with any. Odometers are pretty cheap, but if you want to get the Fitbit or something like that, it's not going to hurt. Okay, I referenced another article in your handout. This was written by a psychologist. I really liked her input. Number 1, we pretty much know, but I thought the other 2 points were good aspects we don't think of. So again, adopting a healthy lifestyle, we pretty much know that. Got to eat healthy, watch our portions, and exercise. Nothing new. I'm not telling you anything that we don't already know there. We have to maintain it. Again, we don't have to be perfect, but we have to consistently do this. Number 2, negative self-talk can have an impact on us. Really, what we think affects how we act and our behavior. And a lot of times we don't realize maybe some subliminal negative messages that we're giving ourselves. So I just wanted to kind of make you aware of this. Some people don't have any of this, and that's great, but a lot of us do, so we can change that. So negative self-talk is saying something negative to yourself, about yourself, and just in your head. Our thoughts do have a strong effect on the actions we take. So we need to change those messages so we can be successful. She found that patients that kept doing this negative self-talk, had trouble losing weight and keeping it off. Examples of negative self-talk: oh, I don't have willpower, this is too hard, I just can't do it. Never get this weight off. Kind of be aware of what you're telling yourself. And if it's negative, try to make a decision to switch that to positive. Positive examples: exercise every day, I try to eat healthy, I'm going to be kind to myself, I don't have to be perfect, I make good decisions. These are things we all do. Again, we don't have to be perfect, but feed those positive thoughts into our mind. I can do this. I can lose this weight. It empowers you. If you can visualize and see your goal, you really helps you to get to that goal. Of course, we are in charge of our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors. So you can come get all the education you want, but you're the only one that can change your behavior. That's good, because you're the one that needs motivation for it, and you don't need a lot of tools to do that. Just maybe some help and encouragement along the way. The third point is, if we have some unresolved personal issues, that can affect us. It can lead to some emotional eating, some stress eating. If we feel bad about a situation at work or maybe a past relationship, things like that, and we carry that into our lifestyle, maybe short term or for years, that can be part of the reason why we're having trouble losing weight. So again, that will help us lose weight. It will also help us be more healthy, help our emotional health. A lot of times we can want to comfort eat when we're frustrated or in pain. We want to find another way to deal with that instead of eating. That's really not a solution. It'll help temporarily. You'll feel better right away, but long term it won't help. The last two slides I think are really good. Believe it, you can achieve it. Losing weight is hard, but we can all do it. We may not get down to that size we want, that perfect number, but we only have to lose 5 or 10% of our weight to be healthier. That's not very much. So maybe change our goal. Now, I don't have to lose 50 pounds, but maybe if I lose 10, I'll be much healthier. I'll feel better. I can be more active. And then if you want to try to go from there, it's great. But at least if you lose that 10, keep it off, you're going to be healthier. And you want to truly believe it so that you can be successful. Again, our thoughts lead our actions. I love this one the best because small changes over time. You don't have to do this overnight. Just start today, making a little bit healthier choices, doing a little bit more exercise. And before you know it, by next year, you'll have some weight off, you'll have kept it off, you'll feel better, improve your whole health. So baby steps. That's my out for the day. One step at a time. So any questions from any of this and any other general questions that I could maybe answer? Again, we want to try not to limit it because they're all good and healthy. But if right. Okay, I would say the most colorful. The most colorful of those things is going to give you probably more antioxidants, vitamins. I also there's some people who don't like fruits or vegetables. Let's say you don't like fruits, but you like vegetables. Then eat more vegetables. Don't force yourself to eat fruit if you don't like it. You're going to be miserable. Make up for it in the vegetables or vice versa. So don't pick 3 fruits that you don't like just because they're healthy. Then maybe pick ones that you really like that are healthy. I can't really single them out because they're all good for you. Some fruits are a little sweeter than others, so portion sizes are different. But bananas are good for you. They have fiber. They have potassium. Apples are really good. They're good. They help with constipation. Have good fiber. Vegetable-wise, again, That's a hard question. It's a good question, but a hard one. How about the farmers markets? That really helps. I agree with you. I haven't had a good tomato since I moved here. But I've heard, the farmers markets are good because they're going to have what's in season. It's going to taste better. It's going to be fresher, so I do encourage going there and getting those. But there's just some things that, aren't going to be the same. Tomatoes here are just not the same as up north.
Nothing like
Yes, the corn too.
Hi, my
Hi.
name is Dr. Maggie.
Hi.
And I'd like to
Thank you. I
and,
appreciate that.
It is exactly.
I probably would disagree a little bit with that, but I respect your opinion as well. But I think that those things can be eaten in moderation. Again, there's a lot of push for low carb, but moderate. We want healthy carbs, good carbs that have whole grains. And vegetables are usually healthy carbs, where non-healthy carbs would be more like chips and white bread and those kind of things. So cut back on those, and you can have a little cauliflower or Brussels sprouts and those kind of things. But yes, they are a more starchy vegetable. But again, they can all fit into a healthy diet. Again, very, very healthy for you too. There's a lot of studies with cancer, the importance of cruciferous vegetables. But again, I don't think you should focus on any one. Try to eat some of all of it. Beans and peas are very healthy, broccoli, cauliflower. But, again, carrots have more sugar than other vegetables, but in a small portion, they are healthy. They have beta-carotene. We need that. But, no, you don't want to eat a big bag of carrots. You would be getting a lot of sugar. So you want to kind of have a variety. They tend to be higher in natural sugar. So again, a big bowl of pineapple is going to give you a lot more sugar than a bowl of something else. So, watch your portion sizes again, but it is healthy. We were meant to eat all different kinds of fruits and vegetables, but again, if it's a sweeter fruit and vegetable, watermelon is water and a lot of sugar. So you eat a big, big bowl of watermelon, you're getting a lot of sugar. But watermelon's not bad. Watch our portions of it. And, every day they're coming out with something new that's healthy. The the acai berry, this berry from this other country. If we bought all those supplements and things, we'd be broke. So, if you want to try some of them, it's good, but, it's impossible to bring all these new things in our diet. Probably the fruits and vegetables that we have are healthy. We don't have to be doing those extremes. Again, coffee and teas have caffeine, some caffeine. Herbal teas don't, right? We don't want tons of caffeine, but we can have some. There are studies that coffee, especially in men, is good. I think 3 or 4 cups, something like that. I would say water first. Then you can have green teas, some coffee, even some regular tea. They all have a role, but excess is not good in any of them. A lot of people that drink 2 pots of coffee a day and hardly any water. Well, that's not healthy. Having 3 or 4 cups a day is not bad of coffee. Am I having a big coffee drink with lots of sugar and espresso? That's not healthy. So, if you like green tea, that's wonderful, but I still want you to have water. If you like coffee, that's okay. Again, not to excess. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your questions, and hopefully the PowerPoint that I gave you and the resources will give you some good information. Great, thanks. Thank you.
So much today.
Great.